the April 28th, and it is the 1 p.m. session. Okay, so 5 minutes is up, and you may now begin your team discussions and come up with your team's answers. If you have a question, you can raise your hand and I'll come over to you.
I don't know how you guys arranged it, but what I did was I have clues of the weapon, the time, and then like other important factors. So do you guys have any times?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are times as well.
Mhm.
Because you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna have times. I was just gonna say like I kind of put them together as to how they corresponded to what said like what,
Yeah.
like so. But I do have times.
So what do you guys think would be the best way to like start?
I think time's probably the easiest one because we have times in all of these. So,
Okay.
um,
Do any of you guys have anything before 11:55?
No.
yes.
Okay, so what's your clue?
Well, I have two things
Okay.
actually because he was found dead at 1:30 in the morning.
1:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant 11:55 p.m. because I have.
I know, but and then also, then there's one where an elevator man saw his. So Mr. Collins, obviously the guy who was killed, saw his wife going to Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30 p.m. So.
Wait,
Okay,
wait,
hold
what
on.
did you
What
just
did
say?
you say?
Okay, so the guy who died, his wife,
Uh-huh.
was seen going into Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30 p.m.
Okay, the elevator operator said Mr. Kelly's wife frequently left the building with Mr. Scott.
See, I have the
Okay,
elevator
so-
man saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25 a.m.
Sorry, what?
Wait, what did you say?
I have the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25 a.m.
Miss
He
Smith
also
said.
saw Mr. Kelly. Well,
Miss,
he also, what? Go for it.
Miss Smith said nobody left the apartment between 12:25 and 12:45. So
Okay,
who's the only
Well,
person?
this is another good, a good fact. Well, not a good fact, but the elevator man went off duty at 12:30 a.m. So we can know everything at least up to that point.
So
and
up
that
to
point.
12:30 a.m. Who was
So-
the person that entered the apartment?
It was
Before
Mr.
12
Kelly went to Mr. Scott's room
He was there
at
before
12:25. Yeah.
And because the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly, he was bleeding and
Yeah. So you know that. I
Oh,
don't
I
know
also
that.
have-
I know that the elevator man went off
You
duty
just
at
said Mr.
12:30.
Kelly was bleeding?
yeah, the elevator man, when he saw Mr. Kelly was bleeding, he didn't seem too badly hurt. So,
And what time was that?
sorry,
What time was that?
he didn't say any time.
'Cause
He
Mr.
saw
Kelly's-
his wife go into the apartment at 11:30, but then he saw Mr. Kelly at some point, and it was definitely before 12:30.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good thing. So we know that, like I said, the elevator man went off duty
I
at
know where his
12:30
bloodstains
a.m.
are. Mr.
What?
Kelly's. Mr. Kelly's bloodstains were in Mr. Jones' apartment.
Well, I also have though.
Oh.
I have Mr. Kelly's bloodstains were
this is
found in Mr. Scott's car.
Alright, this is
But
getting
he-
really complicated.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can tell that one.
Okay.
When he was discovered dead, he had a bullet hole in his thigh and a knife
Yeah.
wound in his back, and Mr. Jones shot an intruder in his apartment building at 12 midnight.
Hold on.
So
let
he
me-
Wait,
was
what was
hurt by
that?
both
What was the
people.
What was
last
the last part?
Mr. Jones shot an intruder in his apartment at 12 o'clock midnight, so he was definitely hurt by both Mr. Jones and Mr. Scott or his wife. One of them stabbed him.
But I have a feeling it has to do with Mr.
Alright,
Scott more because
the
of the fact
bullet
that it's found in the car.
Taken from Mr. Kelly's thigh matched the gun owned by Mr. Jones. Only one bullet had been fired from Mr. Jones' gun. So the
he shot him in
weapon-
the thigh.
Who? You don't know if it's Mr. Jones. Someone could take Mr. Jones' gun. Whoever. entered
Mr.
the
Jones
room.
shot an intruder. It says he shot.
Oh, he shot it?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we know that Mr. Jones shot Mr. Kelly.
But he was at
And-
that point he wasn't too
Can
badly
we kind of
hurt.
see? And then this, what I have right here, like gives incentive though for Mr. Jones because said that Mr. Kelly destroyed Mr. Jones' business by stealing all of his customers. So that gives him like an incentive.
Perfect. So
He said
I
he was
have
gonna kill him,
no
too.
incentive whatsoever. So
Yeah.
I think incentives
That's-
are gonna come for you guys.
Yeah, this is like my one
So you
incentive.
wanna put that on the side, let's first,
I'll put the incentive
yeah,
here.
incentives on that side. I have a lot of times. So we have so far who got shot, right?
Yeah.
Now, can you hear about the knife stabbing? Cause I don't have.
Well, I do have where the knife was found. It
Same.
said that the knife was found in Miss Smith's yard and it had Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it.
And Mr. Kelly's blood on it.
So it could be Mr. Scott framing Mr. Jones.
And well, I think from what I
Or
think,
Mr. Jones framing Mr. Scott, I mean.
The elevator
'cause he has
operator said
incentive.
Mr. Kelly's wife frequently left the building with Mr. Scott. So Mr. Kelly's wife could also be involved.
Yeah, true. She could be
Yeah,
framing
she
the
was-
wall.
she-
Just kidding.
she disappeared after the murder.
Mr. Kelly's wife?
Yeah, she disappeared after the murder, and
Yeah, I have.
Mr. Scott definitely stabbed him.
Oh, I also have that the police were unable to locate Mr. Scott after the murder.
Same
Oh,
with
okay,
Mr.
so both of
Jones.
them.
So, well, yeah, so. Well,
And,
both of them
uh,
had something to do with it, it's just a matter of who actually
Right.
pulled the trigger in a sense, you know what I'm saying?
I think Mr. Scott killed him actually because he was seen. He'd already been shot by Mr. Jones at this point because he was already injured going
Who's shot
to
by
Mr.
Jones?
Scott's apartment building because the elevator man saw him. He was bleeding, but he didn't seem too badly hurt at that point.
I'm not following.
Shot near
No,
the
I
neck,
think
and he was stabbed in the back.
Mr. Kelly was shot.
I think what he's
Yeah.
trying to say though is it kind of leads to Mr. Scott because it does say Mr. Kelly, like went into Mr. Scott's room and then 5 minutes later the elevator man left, so like that's unidentified, like a time frame that we don't know, at least from my
So
portion
you
of
saw him
it.
going in and he was already hurt.
But even though it says Mr. Jones,
He was
Mr. Kelly's
shot.
trying to steal his business, like that does give him an incentive, but it's possible that obviously that's given to you to throw you off, I feel like,
Yeah.
because you can't, I mean, you know what I'm saying, because of like the different evidence.
So Mr. Jones said he was going to kill him, and he shot him at about 12. And then he went to Mr. Scott's apartment building, and he's hurt at this point. Mr. Scott and his wife were there.
Mm-hmm.
They were there since 11:30, and then he went there before when? What time did the elevator man leave again?
At 12:30, so it's 5
So,
minutes after he saw him.
This
go
was half an hour.
He saw
He's
Mr.
there.
Kelly at the elevator saw Mr. Kelly at 12:15 a.m.
So he was there after. he
Wait,
was
hold on.
shot.
in. Can we go through the times like in order?
Sure.
And just say like from first to last and just read them and then we can go
Okay.
really quick.
Miss
So.
Smith, I think I have all the early times. So Miss Smith saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Jones' apartment at 11:55 p.m. So Mr. Kelly is at Mr. Jones' apartment at 11:55.
Okay.
The elevator operator also saw Mr. Kelly at 12:15. So he's in the building.
With and
Within
Miss
11:55.
Mr. Jones, correct? You
No,
just
it
said or
doesn't
no?
say. It
Oh,
just
it doesn't
says,
say where,
so
okay.
at 12:15 we don't know where Mr. Kelly is, but the elevator, well, I guess in the elevator.
Yeah.
Some of them.
And I guess that can go with what you were mentioning, but let me just continue.
Yeah.
Miss Smith said nobody left the apartment building between 12:25 and 12:45. I don't know which part.
Okay, so then that still gives, yeah, so if you're talking about in Mr. Scott's room, then even when the elevator man went off duty, that still leaves him in Mr. Scott's room for like a long time period, if it's Mr. Scott's
He was dragged a long
room
distance.
that's in there.
Who?
Mr. Kelly. It was obvious from the condition of his body, been dragged a long distance. And
Okay.
found at 1:30, so he was definitely killed between 12:15 and like
12:30.
and then
Well-
dragged.
Okay, what's your times?
No, because I'm just saying, because I don't know, well, you're talking about, because I said, like, Mr. Kelly went to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25 a.m., and he's 5 minutes later, when the elevator man went off duty at 12:30, he still wasn't seen at that point. So, like,
He
he
must
went in
have
at
left after that
12:25. So that's probably another building, and then he was alive at that time, and then he went here, and then any point after 12:30, that's what we're, like, missing, that he
Okay.
went,
And
something
what's your
happened there.
What's your times? 1:30,
Many
right?
times the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly's wife go to Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30 p.m. Mr. Jones shot an intruder in his apartment building at 12 midnight.
12
And-
Wait,
midnight.
Mr. Jones shot an intruder at 12 midnight, okay.
So he was
Oh.
shot before he went to the building because he was hurt when he was
Mhm.
at the building.
Mr.
I think he was
Kelly?
found at 1:30 a.m. Yeah, Mr. Jones shot him.
Mr.
Jones
Jones
shot
shot
him.
Mr. Kelly at
Because he
12.
shot an intruder.
He shot an intruder. So, but
But
since
we
he was
just-
hurt when he was at Mr. Scott's building, he was definitely shot before that.
Right.
And then he was stabbed.
And the elevator operator saw Mr. Kelly at 12:15, so he should have seen bloody Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, he saw bloody Mr. Kelly
Perfect.
Oh,
So
okay.
12:15, he saw bloody Mr. Kelly
Okay.
in Mr. Scott's apartment building.
in Mr.
In Mr. Scott's room. Yeah, well, because I have that Mr. Kelly went to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25 a.m.
Okay. And
So
who was
this
stabbed?
happened.
So he must have been stabbed about 12:30.
So he wasn't. So he went to Mr. Scott's room for I don't know what reason in particular, but he got injured before and then went
Miss
to Mr.
Smith
Scott's room
often
injured.
followed Mr. Kelly. So she followed Mr. Kelly, and she said nobody left the apartment from 12:25 to 12:45.
Well,
so
see-
she followed bloody Mr. Kelly.
I
She followed him
have-
to Scott's apartment.
Yeah.
I have here the one thing just saying the elevator man said that Miss Smith was in the lobby of the apartment building when he went off duty.
So 12:30.
Yeah, so past when he went off duty at 12:30.
So between 12:30 to 1:30,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Smith was in the building with Mr. Scott.
And with Mr. Kelly, so there was like
And
the
with
three of
Mr.
them in that
Kelly.
building.
Okay. And
And
then
the knife
Miss
was found in her yard.
in her yard.
Yeah, in her
So
yard.
she's following him,
But
so
it had
she's
Mr.
following
him.
Scott's
Well, no, the thing is-
fingerprints on
I'm
it.
not sure if it was her because it was found in her. It could just be because she wasn't in her apartment building. I mean, in her apartment.
Yeah.
They could have just thrown her there because they're like, she's not there. But I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay, so now we have Bloody Mr. Kelly, and he's going into Mr. Scott's
Yeah.
place. Who's with Mr. Scott? There's somebody that's always with Mr.
His
Scott.
wife.
His wife. That could be it.
Who disappeared after the murder, as well as Mr. Scott.
Excuse me.
Okay, so now he goes in and he sees his wife with Mr. Scott. And then what and then what happens? What do we have about Mr. Scott's apartment building?
Mr. Kelly.
I'm
The only
trying-
thing I
I'm
have
trying-
about Scott's building is that he was there.
He
Yeah.
wasn't there, so then how
I
do we
mean,
know
I
about
That he
the knife
was
one?
there.
I feel like,
You mentioned something about the knife.
yeah, because we know he was
Stab.
discovered that he had a bullet hole in his thigh and a knife wound in his back, and he was dragged, and then found at 1:30 a.m.
Where?
I don't know. He was just found. He'd been dragged a long distance, so it was far away from both locations.
No
of
one
the scene.
has where Mr. Scott was.
Well, he's disappeared according to
Yeah,
you.
according to my,
He
they
and
were
his
unable
wife
to
are gone.
locate him after.
So I
Okay.
think Mr. Jones tried to kill him, and then Mr. Scott did kill him.
You know what? I think what it was with
It
Mr.
doesn't
Jones
have
though,
to
I
be
think it was accidental,
Well,
like
it's
they
his
said, because he
fingerprints.
thought it was an
Intruder.
intruder. But I think maybe that Mr. Kelly, maybe I'm stretching this out too much, but that he was on his way to go see Mr. Scott because he had an agenda against agenda against him. So, but then he got shot, but then he felt that he had to continue going through with what he was doing anyway. So then he was bloody on his way
Do you
there, and then he wanted to kill Mr. Scott, and then maybe Mr. Scott killed him, and then he disappeared.
I
Or
think
maybe it was the crazy
That's-
wife. I don't know.
The stretch, I think.
It is.
do
That's
you
a big
have?
stretch.
Okay,
I think so.
I read through all my clues, so I wanted to hear more of your clues.
Yeah.
Because you have more. Do you have any? Because you have a lot
I
of
have,
insight, too.
well, I have, the knife was found in Miss Smith's yard that had Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it.
Okay.
I
hold on.
also,
Okay, hold on one second. I just
Okay.
want to process.
yeah, no, it takes a lot to
So
process.
Miss Smith's yard.
The knife was found, and it had Mr. Scott's
So
fingerprints on
Scott stabbed.
it. We think could be
Mr.
Mr. Kelly.
Possible Scott.
Yeah.
Mr. Kelly. So
Why
Mr.
it was
Jones and Mr.
found
Scott.
in Miss Smith's whatever yard, I had no idea. Mr. Kelly, well, because Miss Smith is the one going to Mr. Scott, right?
No,
no,
Miss
no.
Smith-
Who was
yeah,
with
she's-
him? Yeah, she's the one who's seen with him.
She's just because she follows Mr. Kelly,
Okay.
so she's ended up there anyway.
Okay, so then I have Mr. Kelly's body was found in the park. And I also have that Mr. Kelly had been dead, oh yeah, sorry, for one, sorry.
Thanks.
Sorry, Mr. Kelly had been dead for 1 hour when his body was found according to the medical expert working with the police. So he was dead for 1 hour, so if it gives us the time frame,
Yeah, because 1:30 was.
when he was found, right?
Found.
Yep,
Yeah, so
there we
he
go.
was
Till
He
the
definitely
12:30,
stabbed
so time
to
of the
death.
murder should be
Yeah, so we wanna say, yeah,
12:30.
12:30?
12:30 a.m.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like
It
sitting
has
here
to be
like the
Mr.
entire
Scott's
time.
apartment building then, if he's placed there, right?
No,
I'm
he's in the park.
I'm just gonna flip this over since.
No, he's dragged to the park.
He's dragged to the park. Oh, the place of the murder.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Kelly's body, so yeah, see, we don't have the place of the actual murder, but his body was found in the park, which means someone
But he
moved
was-
We
his
do know
body.
the place, we
Well,
know where he
Scott-
was.
Well, yeah,
Sure.
Scott's apartment, yeah, if he
Yeah.
was killed there, obviously.
yeah, because no one
But-
left until 12:45, which means they probably dragged him
Yeah.
after they were freaking out from
Yeah.
12:30 to
Yeah.
12:45.
So Mrs.
So I can get rid of that his body was found in the park.
Yeah.
Mr. Scott's apartment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have to keep this out of the way. Miss Smith, Mr. Jones, 11:55. Just for reference, we also know that he was shot at 12:15, correct?
Shot at 12.
Shot at 12.
Yeah, midnight. So
And then we obviously know he was still alive and he wasn't dead until at least 12:30 because he was seen going into Mr. Scott's room at 12:25. So we at least know he definitely.
So the weapon was the knife that killed him?
Yes. We could also, I mean, could we put bullet and knife? Because technically it was both that really killed him. Bullet first.
In
Bullet
parentheses.
first.
It's one correct answer per
Oh,
piece.
right,
Yeah,
right,
one.
Yeah, so no,
Okay.
it's
What?
a knife. It's a knife. It's one correct.
One
answer.
correct answer.
Well, they both killed him. The knife definitely killed him.
Well, the one that in the end that like
Okay.
gave the
The real push.
The
So
murder
that makes
and the
sense
motive.
because let's
That's
say
what
we're
it
in
was,
Mr.
that
Jones' apartment and he was shot. The police tried to locate Mr. Jones after where they discovered that he disappeared. Who knows what
Mr.
happened?
Jones
So-
disappeared too?
Yeah, Mr. Jones.
I know. So anything that has to do with
Cause he shot him, he thought
Fine.
it was gonna.
anything that
Okay.
doesn't have to do with the murder and the motive, we can get rid of like flip it over
Time.
because this is gonna be the most difficult. The
We
more,
have the
especially
weapon,
the motive.
'cause that's all gone. Elevator.
I'm gonna keep that Miss Smith was in the lobby because I feel like that obviously helps us.
And Miss Smith.
Mr. Kelly had destroyed Mr. Jones' business. I feel like that's important.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
The
so-
knife being found. Anything that has to do with any person.
Okay, so what? I haven't heard a lot of your clues.
Sorry?
I haven't heard a lot of your clues. So.
Mine's Mr. Kelly's wife disappeared after the murder and Mr. Jones told Mr. Kelly he was going to kill him.
Mr. Jones told Mr. Kelly he was going to kill him.
Clearly he did not succeed, but
He was going to kill him because of business?
yeah.
Well, yeah, 'cause it says Mr. Kelly had destroyed Mr. Jones' business. But that's what I'm saying. I feel like he had an incentive to go do that, and Mr. Jones thought it was an intruder, and maybe felt that he was gonna do that, and he shot at him. But I feel like that's where it ends with that like scenario.
Unless
Idea.
Mr.
Mr.
Scott.
Scott must
Yeah.
be like a hitman for him. No, but like Mr. Scott's clearly a middleman, right? So there was a
Yeah.
conflict between Mr. Kelly and Mr. Jones. And Mr. Jones thought he could resolve it when he was like freaking out about an intruder, and he's like, boom, and then he's like, oh, guess I got rid of him anyway, right?
Yeah.
But he obviously didn't intentionally want to kill Mr.
That
Kelly.
was intruder, yeah.
Exactly. So we can get rid of the idea that Mr. Jones killed Mr. Kelly.
Yeah.
Mr. Kelly is the one that's dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Scott. Now we got Scott and,
And the
Mr.
wa- and
Kelly's
the
wife
wife.
going on. Now
I
maybe
know.
Mr. Kelly was like, Scott's my friend, but then his wife probably had a problem with him, and she wanted to run away with Mr. Scott.
The only reason I
And
feel like
that's as far as I
this
think
stuff
of
is
it.
because
Yeah.
she was in the lobby of the
But-
apartment building when he went off duty. So that means you have Miss Smith and you have Mr. Scott who are up for potential
You know,
killers.
Miss Smith is a bystander over
Yeah.
here. She could always.
I mean, it's
You
found
have-
in her yard, but it's got Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it.
So
But
maybe
but
Miss Smith follows Mr.
she could have
Kelly.
taken his hand and put his like fingerprints on. She could have had gloves on or something. Well, you know, she probably all.
Or
fashionable
Mr.
No,
Scott
that's-
could have killed, but
From
she's
the
the one
names
who
of
took
them
it.
does not sound very smart. What? It sounds like it's from like 1900s. People do not know about gloves and things.
No, let's say going out, like she probably had her like white gloves on, you know? You know what? Like
Okay, I think we're kind of stuck here.
I don't know. I think it's Mr. Scott that murdered him, but I don't know. Is it?
Okay, so the knife was found in Miss Smith's yard and had Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it. Okay.
What
We
else?
have Mr. Kelly's blood stains were found in Mr. Scott's car. Okay.
Mr. Kelly's bloodstains were found in Mr. Scott's.
car.
So it was moved by him.
So they dragged him to the car and
To
then
take him to the park. That's horrible.
Okay,
You're right.
fine.
So we can get rid of that one, right? Because I kind of we established that. The police one, whatever, we know, unable to locate Mr. Scott after the murder.
Yeah, because he freaked out.
Yeah.
Wait, the wife left too.
Yeah.
And Miss-
Why did everyone
wait,
she
leave?
disappeared.
This makes this so
Did Smith
complicated.
leave? Miss Smith?
You know what?
Did Miss Smith leave?
What is
No,
that? What is that
she
duo
gave
couple
evidence.
that?
Remember?
What is that duo couple that like robs like what is that?
Uh,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah. Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
It's a Bonnie and Clyde. And then and I just have the elevator man said Smith is in the lobby of the apartment building. So we know that's established. So basically we're left with unable to locate Mr. Scott and all of them really, and the knife was found in Miss Smith's yard. It had Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it, and her blood was in.
Whose
Blood stains were found in Mr. Scott's car. I should leave this one.
His.
here.
Her, oh, his.
His in his car. So anything that ties up.
Wait, what do we have for you? Because I feel like
It
I'm.
was just that his wife disappeared, and Mr. Jones said he was gonna kill him. Mr. Jones did not kill him, so that's done.
Whose
so I
wife
think it was
disappeared?
Mr.
Mr.
Scott who
Kelly's
was over
wife?
his wife. What?
Mr. Scott's. No, Mr. Jones said he wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
No one cares about that. We already yeah.
Who cares?
Wife of Mr. Kelly ran away. Did she say with Mr. Scott?
No, she disappeared after the murder.
Yeah, she's horrified.
Is there anything that's connecting with bloodstains at all that's like different from mine or anything or anyone? You know, just because.
Mr. Kelly's bloodstain could have been
The
that.
blood
Miss Smith said
On
nobody-
his knife was found. The knife from Mr. Kelly's blood was found in Mrs. Smith's yard, but it doesn't have much to do with it.
Well, you never know because it's. I mean, I have that also. Then I found in Smith's yard, but it's telling us that it had his fingerprints on it. So everything's
Yeah.
leading to her,
Yeah,
her
no,
yard, I should
literally
say,
knew
like
that.
her.
Yeah, but it's the blood's in Mr. Scott's car and it has his fingerprints on it, and Miss Smith is giving evidence. You know, so I feel like.
Miss Smith is the one giving evidence.
I remember she said they didn't leave it between this time and that time.
Yeah, but people do that all the time. Who are like the murderers?
This is simpler than that, I feel.
People do that all the time. Because they're like, oh.
So who are the three suspects for the murder right now? We have Mr. Scott,
And
Mr. Kelly's wife, and possibly Miss Smith, if that's even possible. Mr. Scott's. If
Listen,
it's
she's like the
straightforward,
silent
if
one.
it is a straightforward mystery, then it should be Mr. Scott because
Yeah,
we've
mhm.
got the whole fingerprint shenanigans.
I
But
was
what
gonna
is
do
the
that.
motive for Mr. Scott is
His
the
wife.
question. So wouldn't the wife do it? Women can get
Why would she
vengeful
kill
too.
him?
Yeah, I know exactly.
It's one
my
of those
point.
stereotypical man things.
Wait, what about
you know?
Mr. Kelly's
no,
wife?
it could totally be
Wait,
a
what about-
stereotypical
yeah.
woman.
What
She's
about
like, I
Mr.
want to get rid of my husband, so I could run away with Mrs. Scott, you know, like.
Wait, what
Okay,
does
so you're
Mr.
difficult.
Kelly's wife have? What did you have about her again?
The elevator operator said Mr. Kelly's wife frequently left the building with Mr. Scott. So,
Is this in
With
general?
who?
in general,
with
Mr. Scott. She was sleeping with him.
Yeah, she's gonna be.
Yeah, so that's why Mr. Kelly wanted. That was his motive to kill her. But then the thing is I
Well,
don't know what Miss
so
Smith
I
has to do
think-
with
I
this
think-
now.
I don't think he's doing anything. He's just like, I was shocked. I will go like find
Okay,
you.
I think that Mr. Scott was friends with Mr. Kelly. He got shot. He went to his friend, found that his wife is sleeping with him.
Yeah, that's
Right?
exactly what I think.
Now he's pretty pissed. One of them is scared.
Mhm.
So they. Oh, and Miss Smith is probably in the background, like, oh. Right?
Everyone's trying to set up Miss Smith. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Because
but
that's why everything's found there.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. 'Cause she saw them. They know she saw them.
Yeah.
Does it say anything about Mr. Scott's linkage with Mr. Jones?
No, it says nothing about that. I don't remember anything about that.
Because that would be incentive right then and there. We could.
Wait, would you say Mr. Scott and Mr. Jones? No, I only have Mr. Kelly and Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I
so
don't
there's
have
nothing
anything.
else.
Then it's just the wife situation, and if it's very straightforward. I mean, I still think. Yeah, because his fingerprints aren't. Fine. Okay. Guys, I think we've come to an agreement. Some form. Let me tell you what I'm thinking. What I'm
Yeah, no.
agreeing on,
Okay.
basically.
I mean, I agree on that. I definitely think
Yeah.
that motive is.
Okay, so I think that the murderer is Mr. Scott.
Yeah.
We have the fingerprints, all of that shenanigans, and the motive is that he's sleeping with the other man's wife, and he's just like, "Can I just get rid of you? You're already dead, basically." So, run away
Okay.
with your wife. We good?
You were.
All right. Motive for murder.
Yeah, because, like, why would, like, Miss Kelly.
Literally right now, exactly what you said, Mr. Scott's. That's what.
Want.
It's the word.
This is like- I don't know, I think
Maybe,
it's a
like,
dumb
buy
motive,
into
though.
those things, but
I don't know. I think
happens.
the motive is just.
Listen, that happens. You hear this stuff on the news. I hear that stuff on the news all the time. Freaking people killing their
Date.
boyfriends or wives and shit.
28th because yesterday was the 27th.
Right.
As
I
you said
think
earlier.
we're done. So
That's what you said.
time.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the time?
I guess we'll. Do we have a time?
Oh.